20 eyeballs on you.
Yeah, and then it's gonna be shown to the whole world, and, you know, so. You want me to go ahead and start?
Yeah, I'll introduce you real quick.
Okay.
So, this is Judge Dutton. She, as I told you all before, she's our district court judge. So, we have been learning about the court systems. So, everyone knows that in district court, they hear mainly what types of cases?
Misdemeanor,
Uh-huh. What else?
civil under 5,000, and juvenile.
Civil under 1,000 and juvenile cases. She also hears probate cases, which are like wills and that type of thing. But for the most part, those are the three main types of cases that she hears. She also hears the start of the felony cases. But remember, those cannot be resolved in district court. They have to be resolved where?
Circuit court.
Circuit court. Yes, exactly. So, Judge Dutton, I practiced in front of her for about 4 years.
Is that it?
Yes.
Longer than that.
Yeah. For about 4 years, I practiced in front of her. So, I have a lot of respect for her. She has been in this community for how long?
I've been in the community a long, long time, 30-some plus years, but, I've been here for 18.
18 years.
Which makes me, some of you all weren't born, right?
Yeah.
Most of them were
Oh,
not.
right.
Most of them were not.
Most of us are 17.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of them were not born at that time. But so she's been a judge for a very long time. She has a lot of experience. So please give her your attention as she's talking, and then we'll have time for you all to ask questions if you have them. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to thank Courtney for inviting me, or Miss Hellard. I'm not sure. I call her Courtney. You all probably call her Miss Hellard. But she was an excellent, excellent prosecutor, and I miss her so much. And I want to thank her for inviting me. I love talking to young adult, or well, some of you are adults. Some of you are 18. Okay. Well, young leaders. I have 3 children. I'm going to tell you a little about myself, and then I'll get into the substance of what I'm going to talk about. But of course, we already mentioned that I've been a judge for 18 years, and I live here in Shelby County, and have 3 children. My kids are out of high school now. My oldest son, he is a lawyer. He actually, my husband and I are both lawyers. Of course, now I'm a judge, but I was a lawyer before I was a judge. And my son naturally followed in our footsteps. So he's a lawyer. And then my oldest daughter, well, my son is, how old is my son? 28 years old. My oldest daughter's 25, and she's in med school at U of L. And then my youngest daughter is at UK as a senior. So I have young adults. So anyway, I love talking to you all. It's, I've talked regularly to high school students. So anyway, thank you, Courtney, for inviting me. And I know Sarah. Is there anybody else in here that nobody else is in my teen court? I'm going to talk about my teen court, which Sarah's involved in. And this is your first year, Sarah? Is that okay? All right. And you're, I think, enjoying it, interested in going into law yourself. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that happens, and if I can help in any way. So that's a little bit about me. Let me tell you a little bit about the courthouse. As Courtney has already mentioned, I'm the district judge, but there are 2 district judges. I'm one, and then there's another judge by the name of Judge Witt, and then we have a circuit judge, Judge Brummer, and then we have a family court judge, Judge Hellard. So actually has the same last name as your teacher. So there's 4 local, what we call trial judges. And then we have, of course, district, circuit. If you all learn about the court system, you know that in Kentucky we have the Court of Appeals and then our Supreme Courts. We don't have any of those judges here locally, so the 4 I just named are more of our local judges. And as judges, we handle 3 counties. I travel, of course, I live here, but I travel to Anderson, which is Lawrenceburg. You may be familiar with Lawrenceburg. And I go to Spencer County, which is Taylorsville. And then, of course, here in Shelbyville. So I just travel from week to week. Let's see, let me kind of tell you how it happens or how it works. 1 week, Shelby County, out of those 3 counties, Shelby County is the biggest county. And so I spend an entire week in Shelby County, Monday through Friday. I'm in court every day. And then next week, I will flip over to Anderson and Spencer counties, and I will spend Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday in Anderson County, and then I'll spend Tuesday and Friday in Spencer County. And I essentially hear the same types of cases in all of those counties. So I'm kinda gonna go through my schedule, and then I've got some handouts, and I'm gonna let you ask questions and stuff like that. And I'm gonna kinda go through my schedule and tell you, and then you can ask questions. If you have a question right in the middle of it, I don't mind if you ask it. But, for example, I'm in Shelby County this week. On Monday, my morning docket is what we call my civil docket. You all just kind of mentioned that. They're learning about civil cases as well, right? All right, on Monday morning, I handled evictions. Does everybody know what an eviction is? What is it? What is an eviction?
Being kicked out of your house by the landowner.
Good job. That's exactly what it is. So I had a pretty large docket on Monday for evictions. And then I handled my small claims and my civil cases. And I know y'all mentioned small claims, but it is actually, the small claims limit is 5,000, it was raised. So, I handle small claims actions, civil cases are up to 5,000, small claims are 2,500. 2,500, it was raised a couple of years ago. So, you can sue, someone in small claims court, you don't need an attorney. You can represent yourself as long as you're 18, you can come into court. File action against someone up to $2,500, and I will hear that. I actually had quite a few of those on Monday as well. Mainly there were things like people who didn't pay a bill, and the collection aid, or whoever they owed it to was suing them to get their money up to $2,500. So I handled evictions, I handled small claims, I handled civil actions, and those are up to $5,000. So a lot of those are like if somebody defaults on like a credit card or doesn't pay their bill on a credit card, they'll sue in district court, and I'll handle that. Let's see. I have some other cases the biggest part of my Monday is what we call probate court. Does anybody know what probate is? Have y'all talked about that, probate?
Just very briefly.
Anybody ever heard that term, probate?
I've heard it.
Okay. What do you think it is?
It's
You can guess. I mean, there's no.
I've heard it under the context of getting out of jail.
It's
Well.
the same thing that when we were studying our attorneys, the estate attorney,
Oh, like, after somebody dies, what to do with their stuff.
Exactly. And you are right too. That's called probation. So, but I'm talking about the civil side of it, which is probate. And yes, when someone dies, oftentimes, sometimes they do, but most of the time they do, they have a will, and they come into court, and we probate that will, and we distribute those assets, to the wife, or to the kids, or whatever. And sometimes those can get, first of all, it can be very sad. I mean, the person's, they've lost their spouse or a loved one. And then they can get ugly because sometimes the heirs to the estate, are arguing over how to distribute that estate. So those hearings take quite a bit of time, just, you have to make a lot of rulings on that. So anyway, but know that, if someone in your family, were to die, that's where you would come to court. You would come to district court, and we would help you out to get that all moving, okay? All right, so that's my Monday docket. Tuesday, which was yesterday, is my longest docket. I start at 8:30, and I typically, in Shelby County, I don't finish until, 3 or 4 o'clock. I'm on the bench all day long. It's what we call our traffic court. Anybody, I'm sure you all know what we do in traffic court. What do you think are the kind of cases I would handle in traffic court?
Speeding tickets and traffic violations.
You wanna be a lawyer, don't you?
Yeah.
Anybody else? There's some other ones that would be common for me to handle in traffic court. Anybody else wanna take a stab at it? Sarah, I know you wanna go into law, so what else do you think I would handle in traffic court? You hit the bulk of them right there, but there's another biggie, that I handle.
think about something that will put a lot of people at risk if
Driving without a license?
Well, that's one. I did handle that one as well.
The DUI.
Exactly, a DUI.
Oh.
So you all are pretty good. Courtney must be teaching you all a lot. So a DUI, that's a common one, and there's jail time associated with that. It's there's a lot of attorneys in court who are making arguments for their clients. So I caution you also, should you ever, when you're old enough to drink, I'm not against that at all, but just be responsible, never get behind the wheel of a car, if you had anything to drink. In this day and time, we have Ubers, we have, you can always have your friend not drink and, you can trade off, be the designated driver. Just don't ever do that, because there is jail time associated with it, and it's mandatory. It's not like when you come to court, you can beg me to dismiss it or beg me to do whatever. I'm strict on it, so you will go to jail. So just don't ever put yourself in that kind of position, okay? All right, so Tuesday, big docket yesterday, didn't get out of court till late. And then in the afternoon, I have what we call my arraignment docket, and I know Courtney's already mentioned that I arraign every defendant that's charged with a crime in Shelby County. Whether it's murder or a speeding ticket. They come to me in district court. So an arraignment means essentially I read them their constitutional rights, I tell them the charges, I ask them if they want an attorney, and then if it's a felony, and I think we already mentioned that, we have to do what we call a probable cause hearing, whether there's probable cause for that charge, okay? So I will set up that next court date for them. Oh, and by the way, I set their bond. I set every bond that comes through Shelby County and Anderson Spencer, but I will set that bond, okay? So I had that yesterday, and that takes a great deal of time. Fortunately, no murder charges or anything like that, but there were a lot of felonies. Take a guess at what do you think some of the most common felonies I might see on an arraignment? Felony theft, because we've got a misdemeanor theft and then we've got felony theft. But yes, we had some of those yesterday. What's some other ones you might think would be pretty common? There's a biggie that's kind of the underlying issue for most any charge. The underlying issue for assaults, the underlying issue for theft, the underlying issue for driving under the influence, the underlying issue for murder. Drugs. Absolutely. I would say, have a number, I'm just making this up, but I would say 90%, that might be inflated a little bit. Almost every charge, the underlying issue is drugs. Either they're under the influence of drugs, they're stealing for drugs, So the answer is, kids, don't ever use drugs. You'll just end up there in Shelby County Detention Center, and then your life spirals. So, just don't go down that route at all. But yeah, that was, I would say, the bulk of them. Trafficking in drugs, I had a lot of those charges yesterday, trafficking in drugs. I'm trying to think what else. Quite a few thefts, you all mentioned that. So anyway, we arraigned them, I read them their constitutional rights, I told them the range of penalties. So like if it's a felony, it's a D felony, it's punishable by 1 to 5 years in prison. I can go over all that. Then we talk about whether they want an attorney or going to hire an attorney. Then we talk about their bond. And then I give them their next court date. So that was yesterday. Okay. Today, and the only reason I'm here today, and I told Courtney when I scheduled this, we normally have our jury trials on this day, on Wednesdays. Most of those jury trials, fortunately, work themselves out, and I don't have to have a jury trial. The prosecution will decide to dismiss the charge, or defer the charge, or the defendant will decide to plead guilty. So they work it out, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. But today I did have a jury trial scheduled, but it worked itself out about 2 weeks ago. So, but 2 weeks, not 2 weeks ago, yeah, we're on fall break, right? It was 2 weeks before that, I had a big jury trial. It took me all day. So, you just never know. But that's about the only day I have that I'm not in court, is every other Wednesday when I'm just rolling the dice that I don't have a jury trial, and that's why I'm here today. Okay, and tomorrow, is my criminal docket, and that's for, and I know Courtney's already mentioned, that's, in district court, I handle misdemeanor charges, okay? Now, again, I've already mentioned that every case starts out in front of me, even a felony, even a murder charge. But if I have a felony, I do the probable cause hearing, and it moves.
Sorry, yes, yes.
Oh my
Sorry.
goodness, and he has a
Yeah.
wealth of information, so. And then they go on to circuit court, so, but misdemeanors stay with me. Does anybody wanna take a guess at how long anybody before me would be put in jail? Or would I could sentence them to jail? Does anybody have? Yeah, you wanna be a lawyer too? No?
Going to the Navy, actually.
Oh, you're going to Navy? Well, I kinda guess, so anyway. Anyway, but that's great. Anyway, so the most anybody's gonna go to jail in front of me is 1 year. So, anyway, that's tomorrow, and, I'll let y'all are doing so good at guessing, so what do you think some of the most common misdemeanor charges I might see tomorrow? We already guessed the traffic, that was Tuesday. Misdemeanor charges, what do y'all think? There's like thousands, so you could almost say anything, and, you know, I mean, but the most common ones would be, what do you think? And you might know this, Sarah, because we're dealing with the same charges in teen court as we're gonna be dealing with in adult court. So, we've already had a couple mock trials with those types of charges.
It's usually just like stupid mistakes that somebody made. Calling police, we've done stealing
Mhm.
like items. Then
I think the other night on Monday, we had an assault, right?
then assault. Yeah.
We had an assault, of a juvenile. Oh, no, that was a
Yeah.
juvenile case, yeah. Okay, assault, shoplifting. Anybody else wanna take another, guess at what y'all think some other charges might be? Misdemeanor charges.
Burglary,
What's that?
whatever it's called. Robbing.
Burglary?
Yeah.
Well, no, that would typically fall in a felony area, but it would start out with me, but it's theft. And yes, we do have a lot, you know, theft charges, a whole lot. And, things like, terroristic threatening, you know, well, I'm gonna kill you, you know, they just verbally threaten somebody, you know, stuff like that. Those will be pretty popular tomorrow. What's some other ones, Courtney?
A lot of domestic violence. So domestic violence is violence between people either in a marriage that have kids together or in a dating relationship. You see a lot of that. And then if there is violence, there's protective orders that are issued. If someone violates a protective order that's issued by a court, then that's a separate charge as well. So there are a lot of violations of those protective orders that are seen in criminal court as well.
Yes. All right, that's tomorrow. And then tomorrow afternoon is when I will have my, probable cause hearings, and which will take a long time, for all the felony charges. So, you know, I don't think I have any murder cases coming on. We, you know, fortunately, knock on wood, we don't have a lot of murders in our small community. So, but that always makes a very, you know, newsworthy hearing. Usually the media will show up on that day and video me in court, like I'll be in video right now. And, so we have those. Any high profile case, you know, the media will show up, and, you know, that'll be tomorrow afternoon. But I don't think we have anything like that going on right now. But typically, I would say, the bulk of the docket are people that, are still in custody. So on tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, we'll probably have 25 or so inmates that are brought over from generally the Shelby County Detention Center. Does everybody know where that is? Everybody know where the detention center is? Okay, well, I know if y'all live here, y'all know exactly where it is. Y'all know where the park is, correct? All right, and if you're going up the street to the park, there's a stoplight right before you get to the park. You know that flashing light, there's a park. It's off to your left. That's the Shelby County Detention Center.
My dad been in there.
Oh, really?
My brother
Well-
works there.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's the detention center. In fact, Sarah will be visiting, I'm taking my teen court members to a visit to the jail. That's like in 2 weeks, right, isn't it?
Mhm.
Okay, it's on Friday. and I'm gonna get to teen court in a minute, in case any of y'all are interested in it. But I take, all my teen court members to a tour of the jail every year, and it's hopefully the only time you will ever see the inside of a jail. So it's a real opportunity to if you can see the inside of a jail. Cause I mean, honestly, I'm a judge, and I don't go to the inside of a jail very often. I mean, I'm kinda scared what they might say if the judge walked in, so anyway, but I don't go very often, but I do go with the teen court members, and we walk through the jail. You will go in the back of the jail, you'll see the inmates, you know, you talk to the jailer. So anyway, that's where the detention center is, and yeah, so tomorrow, during my hearings, we'll probably have 20 to 25 inmates that are brought over to the courthouse, and probably most of you have never even been in the courthouse. Is that fair to say? Okay. Well, my courtroom is like, you know, here, and behind me we have what we call now there's a wall, I can't see it, but we call holding cells. So the inmates don't just come and sit in the courtroom. There's actually cell rooms behind my courtroom. Now it's you can't see them. There's a door that our bailiff will go back there and let them out one at a time. I'll say Commonwealth versus John Doe. He brings John Doe out from the holding cell in front of me, and then I will do whatever. I'll have the hearing or whatever we're going to have that day. So, and there's a bathroom back there, and sometimes they get loud and yell and scream, and you know, fortunately we can close the door and want to listen to it. So anyway, but tomorrow afternoon will be a big docket because, you know, there's 20 to 25 inmates. And let's see, Friday. Friday is my juvenile docket. And basically, if you're under the age of 18, which I think all of you are, right? That any offense I just mentioned, all those assaults and shopliftings, if you commit those crimes under the age of 18, you're gonna see me on a Friday in juvenile court. So any charge that an adult person can have, now there's a few exceptions, I won't go into the status offenses, but you know, any charge that an adult can have, if you get that in juvenile court, then you would come to me on a Friday and we would deal with the charge, okay? Common dispositions in juvenile court, unlike adult court, a lot of community service, counseling, things like that, which Sarah is part of teen court. You know, that's what you would sentence somebody to, okay? Okay, so I got more fun things. All right, teen court. Sarah is part of my teen court program. Have any of you all, I know we have sign-ups in, during, I don't know if you call it back, I know Collins calls it back to school bash. What do you all call it?
Back to school.
Okay. All right, we have sign-ups, and we always have a table there. I came last year, but I don't think I came this year. Did any of you all see that, or have you heard about teen court? Okay. All right. Well, teen court is, you've heard of mock trial. Have you ever heard of mock trial? Okay. Well, mock trial are fake cases where you go and you act as a prosecution and defense or whatever, and you conduct a trial, okay? Which is great experience for speaking, or if you're going into law, thinking about law, whatever, you know, or even if you're not thinking about law, just for great experience. It also looks great on your resume for whenever you graduate. But we also have a teen court program. But unlike mock trial, these are real cases where a juvenile has been charged with a crime. And we've already mentioned, and Sarah mentioned that, like, we had an assault. It was a real case. It was just, it's not what you're going to be doing in January. We have assault cases, we have shoplifting cases, whatever, any adult charge. And these are real cases where a juvenile gets charged. And we have trained our teen court members to act as prosecutors, defense counsel, jurors, and bailiffs. And starting in January, we will be trying cases. So our teen court members, you know, will have a recommended sentence that, you know, this juvenile go do community service, or that they, you know, write a letter of apology or whatever. But they act as prosecutors and defense counsel. So if you're interested in that, now it's too late for this year, sign up next year. And it's at the back to school bash. Like I said, we have a table. You know, try it for a year. if you don't, I'm not too many kids don't love it, but they don't wanna stay, but anyway, most, you can come and be a part of it. And then you would be in the courtroom with me, I would show you the holding cells, you can do the tour of the jail. You'd get to see some real world courtroom experience, okay? So, know that that's there. All right, and let's see. I brought these handouts just because and I have more if you want to. I'm just gonna hand these out if you want to pass them around. I'm gonna leave the rest. So these are just to read at your own leisure. But I was sitting in the parking lot reading it because I never really took the time to sit there and read it. But should you, it's got some good legal terms in there that you all are probably learning. That's in the back, like ex parte. You ever heard that term? Ex parte? Just stuff like that. That you might want to take the time to look at, and how do you respond to a lawsuit? How do you start a lawsuit? At the age of 18, you can represent yourself in the small claims court. You could actually come to court yourself, and it says that in there. And it tells you how to do that. If you were to, file a lawsuit. I actually had a Shelby County High School law student one time, bring their own lawsuit for somebody broke their phone here. And they actually brought their own lawsuit and argued their case. And it didn't happen here, it happened at the park, at pool. Somebody threw their phone in the pool. And we had a whole lawsuit over it. And I think he was like, a day over 18. And he was up there representing himself in the small claims court. So he did a good job. So, anyway, what's that? Did he win? Yes, he did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he won. I don't really, the defendant didn't dispute he did it. He was just mad at him and threw his phone in him. So he had to pay for that phone. Anyway, so you can do that. And this, kind of talks about that, like how to address the court, how to dress for the court, the forms, how do you get the forms? Well, you get the forms that you can go online, but you could also come to the courthouse and pick them up, and then, what if I can't pay for the fees or cost? You can ask that those be waived, and there's a form for that. So, just a fun little book with legal terms that I thought you all might enjoy looking at sometime.
Judge, we have not to interrupt you, but we have not talked about ex parte communication. I think it would be most beneficial coming from you being a judge. There are a lot of people that come into court, we have experienced, that just want to talk to the judge, or they want to try to contact the judge from either side. So can you explain a little bit about what ex parte is and kind of what the constraints of you talking about a case with one side or another?
Well, and it makes it kind of difficult sometimes because I live here in Shelby County, so I can't go anywhere, literally anywhere, that I don't see people that I've had in court or are currently in my courtroom. I can't go to the grocery, I can't go to Kroger, I can't go to Walmart, I can't go anywhere. And of course they see the judge and they think, well, I'm gonna go up to her, I'm gonna tell her my side of the story, because here's what really happened, it was really the other guy's fault, it wasn't my fault. Well, they can't do that. I can't talk to you about your case outside that courtroom. Now, if you're in that courtroom, and I have the prosecution with me, and I have the defense counsel with me, we can just have a powwow at the bench, or even in the courtroom, but I cannot have any ex parte contact with that person outside of that courtroom, okay? And so many people will call my office and talk to my secretary. Now I never answer the phone, I've learned not to do that. Will call and say, I need to talk to the judge. Or I know Judge Dutton, I go to church with her and I need to tell her whatever. And of course I always tell my secretary, I can't do that. I'll see them in court, remind them of their court date, and I'll see them there. But I can't have that one-sided conversation with anybody. I can only have a conversation if both the party and their counsel are with me, okay? So, it gets interesting when you live in the community and you see people. I think most people have caught on to the fact that I can't talk to you, but you get it once, somebody, every once in a while, but, you know, I mean, I lived here most all my life, raised my kids here, you know, they know me, they should be able to talk to me, and of course, I always say, I'd love to talk to you about your case, but unfortunately, I cannot, or I'll have to recuse myself from that case if you try to talk to me. And recuse means I can no longer sit on their case, if you don't know that term. So, and then that kind of shuts them up, they don't talk anymore. So, anyway, know that you can't do that. I mean, know that I would love to hear your side of the story, but I have to do it in the courtroom. Okay.
And that goes for prosecution as well. So as a prosecutor, you all know that I was a prosecutor. So we have defendants who are usually the ones that see the judge out in the community and try to talk with her. Those are the people accused of a crime. Then we have our criminal defense attorneys, or the defense attorneys that are before the judge. And then we have our prosecutors. So that goes for everyone. So I, as a prosecutor, could not go to the judge and say, hey judge, we need to talk about this defendant. He is, you know, he's doing some really bad stuff. You really need to know about him. I am not allowed to do any of that outside of court. If I was to do any of that, then I would get in big trouble. The judge would get in big trouble. The case could be thrown out. So there are very big consequences for that. And that ensures that it's fair to all sides. Nobody gets to go have a conversation with the judge about bond or about getting out of jail or keeping someone in jail. No one gets to have conversations with the judge about cases unless it's in open court. And we know one of the rules of law that we want to make strong is that the court system is open and transparent, right? So that the bar against ex parte makes sure that it's open and transparent.
Now, that's not to say that when the case is finished and complete, and it's over, and they've, you know, paid their fines or served their time, you know, if I know somebody and I see them out in the community, they'll come up and, you know, say, hi, Judge Dutton, you know, sometimes, and you should not be, I'm just gonna say this, should you ever have found yourself in the courtroom, you should not be embarrassed about it. I see thousands of cases a year. I'm not gonna remember what you were there for, so, but I might remember you were there. So you shouldn't really avoid me, which most people do, because they're like, oh Lord. But you know, I might say, it was great to see you the other day in court, and I hope everything's going okay. And you know, and I love it when they say, well, you were fair. You know, you did your job. You know, even if I had to put them in jail. So, you know, don't, after the case is over, you freely can talk to me. Don't avoid me just because I'm, you know, you see me in Kroger, you go down the other aisle, ooh, I take my card over here. So, you know, don't feel like you have to do that. All right, let me get to a few other things. Let's see. I handle, and I haven't run my numbers for this year or last year. I think this number I have on this piece of paper is old. But I handle touch about 19,000 cases per year. So that is, Shelby County is, or no, not Shelby County, the 53rd Judicial District, which is Anderson, Shelby, and Spencer, the three counties I preside in. We are ranked, it's on this piece of paper somewhere, I'm pretty sure it was 23 out of 60. So we're pretty high up as far as caseload. You know, we have a large volume of cases that we touch every day. And it could be just something that I'm putting on for signature or what, or signing, or speeding ticket, and some of them are more than that. But we are very high up as far as amount of caseload. So just in district court, the battle, I guess, is just getting through the volumes of cases, okay? You know, so yesterday, like I said, I had my traffic court. Some of those people, I did know some of them. You know, I'd love to say, how's your day? How you doing? You know, whatever. But I got we had 240 cases, I think, yesterday. But probably at least 100 or more were sitting, well, probably more than that. About 150 people were probably in that courtroom. It is big. So I'm just moving, you know, I like I said, I probably wouldn't even remember if you were there because I'm just moving. So I gotta get through 19,000 cases per year. And So it's just handling the volume. And, anyway, but I absolutely love what I do. I wouldn't keep doing it if I didn't. I mean, like I said, I'm in my 18th year, and, you know, I love what I do. So, anyway, all right, well, I thought I'd get to some funny things if I could, okay? Because I'm gonna wake you all up. It's early in the morning, you all are just got to school. So, I thought I would show you all these, some funny citations, okay? I have a couple, and then I thought I'd tell you a couple funny cases, because I often get asked that, like, what's the funniest case you've ever seen, or what's the most awful case? I can tell you that too. I can tell you probably the most awful, I can tell you the funniest, okay? But one of the these are some citations, I'll show you these, but I don't have a citation for this funny one. I always think this one's funny. I had, an attorney one time, you know, I called the case, Commonwealth versus John Doe, and the attorney comes up and he says, Your Honor, John Doe, he won't be here today. He's in a body cast. He's broken bones in his body. He's in a body cast. He won't be here for a while. He's called me. He's had this accident. He's in a body cast. And all the time, while this attorney's sitting here going off of his body cast, you know, and when we think he can get out of his body cast to come to court, there's this person approaching. And I said, well, is that John Doe behind you? By that time he made it up, and he goes, oh, John Doe! So John Doe miraculously covered from his body cast, and he walked into the courtroom. So I was laughing my head off, and the attorney's like, you know, well, he told me he was in a body cast. I'm like, well, he's recovered. He is recovered, and he's made it to court. So anyway, I always thought that was funny because the attorney was humiliated or embarrassed because I don't know what kind of story his client told him, but you know, he should have made up a better one because, you know, he recovered quickly. And another funny one, I don't know if you all will get this one, but I'll try my best. Okay. I was having a probable cause hearing. We already talked about that. Okay. And this was trafficking in meth. Trafficking in meth charge. And
That means they were selling drugs.
and in this time, and you all, this is way before your all's time, but I'll try to, you know, give you the picture. Years ago, we used to have what we called meth labs, where they would make meth. You know, and they needed Sudafed, they needed, I don't know all the ingredients. I haven't made meth. Sudafed, and there was a lot of ingredients, okay? So they used to have these meth labs where they would cook this meth, okay? So I was having this hearing, and the attorney was asking the policeman, you know, well, how did you know when you came up on this meth, what you say is a meth lab? How did you know it was a meth lab? Or that they were making meth in this house? And he said, well, I saw the pans, I saw the Sudafed, I saw name something else that might be in meth. Hoses, I got it right here. The sulfur, the gasoline, the red dye. He was naming all the ingredients. And the defendant went, no, Your Honor, that's not correct. There's no sulfur in meth. So there is no meth. So the defendant just yelled out, that's not right. We didn't have any sulfur. You don't use sulfur in meth. Which basically admits he knows how to make meth, and he was using he had a meth lab. Does everybody get that? I thought it was hilarious. And I said, well, you know, probable cause, I think that's pretty much admitting you were making meth. So, again, he's a criminal. He was a defendant, and he wasn't the brightest guy in the world. And he spoke up, and his attorney went, oh my gosh. And he told him to be quiet, but it didn't help. It was too late. The cat was out of the bag. And so, anyway, I thought it was hilarious, and you know, I'm going to show you a couple citations. Now hold them before we just hold them until we get there. Let's see. I'll let you all share, because I don't have that many actually, and I'll let you all share on this side of the room too. I might need. I don't know if I brought enough copies. Darn it. Let me see if I got it. No, I don't. So.
Nadia, or Candy, will you please share with Nadia, please?
Okay.
They can share, and then
Okay.
Kobe can share with them too.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can hand this to them and then I can read off theirs. So let me give them that. Okay. Okay, the first one we're gonna look at is, let's look at Rob Wheel. Now keep in mind, citations are public records, so I'm not showing you anything that's not part of public record. Read the narrative on that one.
So to give you all a little bit of background, this is what the police officer fills out when they charge someone with a crime.
Did y'all read that one? Okay. The short one, right there. Yeah, read that one, and then we'll. I just thought it was hilarious. In particular, it would be the last sentence.
Read this one first.
I know. Did you read it? Everybody read it? Is that not the? I thought it was funny. Has everybody read it? All right. So he's charged with disregarding a stop sign, no operator's license, and fleeing and evading police second degree. When the cop pulls him over, why did you not stop? Well, I was going to get a tortilla, and I did not want to stop. I thought it was hilarious, and at least he was honest. He was just going to get a tortilla, and he just didn't have time for that traffic stop. He was in a hurry. All right. Now, the second one, honestly, you can read the whole thing, but the first sentence is, or first, paragraph is the most funny.
Is this like attempted arson?
I prosecuted this one.
That was one that I prosecuted.
Oh, you did?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I thought it was hilarious. The way, it's obviously, it's an arson charge. So there was gas and everything involved in this arson. Now, I didn't even remember that Courtney tried or prosecuted this one. But the very sentence, the way the officer wrote it up, if you don't, if you're just quickly opening a file like I do as a judge, and I read it and it says, the above had a very strong odor of gas coming from his person. Oh, well, that's not a crime. But then I read on. And I was like, well, it is coupled with arson. It is a crime.
My favorite citation is one that says parking on top of another vehicle.
Oh, parking on top of another vehicle?
Yeah, that's my favorite citation because it makes no sense.
That was, the citation said park. I wonder what they meant by that. Parking on top of another vehicle.
Parking on top of another vehicle.
I don't even know what that
That's what they
means.
meant.
How can you
I'm
park on
I'm
top of another
honestly
vehicle?
impressed. I
Yeah.
was impressed.
Well, anyway, I thought those were funny. Those are too funny. I had more, but I couldn't find them. So really, that's kind of everything I wanted to talk about. But I mean, I want you all, if you have any questions or anything like that you want to ask me, now's the time. So, anyway, anything y'all want to?
I asked you after class.
Okay, I'm gonna answer hers and then I'm gonna come to yours, okay? What is the worst case? Two of the saddest cases I've had, were juveniles who were charged with murder.
Oh,
And they were very sad cases. And, those cases all, and keep in mind when a juvenile is charged with, certain charges, you can have what we call a transfer hearing where you can transfer that out of juvenile court and that person can be tried as an adult in adult court, okay?
just wait for them to turn 18.
No, well, they stay, the only difference is, if they're under the age of 18, they will stay in detention, but the moment they turn 18, if they're going to be tried as an adult, they go to adult jail. That is it. Other than that, if I decide to transfer, which I will tell you both of those cases I did, they got transferred to adult court, that case becomes public record. So I'm not saying anything that's not public record, it is public record. Those cases immediately became public record, and those persons were, I don't think one of them's even had a trial yet. He's not had a trial yet. Okay, so,
They got continued.
okay, all right, so, and the other one, I think she pled, and, those went on to, circuit court, they are or have been tried as an adult, and, you know, so it's, it was heartbreaking to see a kid spend the rest of their life in prison. It was also hard to see the families, have to go through that. You know, any murder charge is heart-wrenching, but it's particularly hard if you see a young person.
So we've talked about juvenile cases are confidential, and that's one thing they talk a lot about in teen court. So juvenile cases are confidential. However, there are certain criteria where if they meet that criteria, like the judge was talking about, the murder charges, then they are in adult court. At that time, they are no longer confidential. So there's a murder case in Anderson County that has not been tried yet. Basically, this juvenile murdered his sister and his mother. Unless his case was transferred to circuit court, that would remain confidential. Since it's in circuit court and he's being tried as an adult, it's not confidential anymore. So we can, or I can talk about that case because it's not confidential anymore. It's already been transferred up to circuit court. So you'll hear on the news about that case when it comes about because it's not confidential anymore. But there's a bunch of steps that have to go through. And if he is convicted, then he will go to juvenile detention, and then on his 18th birthday, then he'll go to adult prison.
It's a very high-profile case, so,
Yeah.
Courtney, I'm sure you were the prosecutor on transfer hearing, okay.
Mhm.
And then, of course, I was the judge and we transferred it on, so it was that. And you had a question too?
I was gonna ask you after class.
Oh, okay. All right, well, any other questions?
Judge, can you tell them a little bit about your background before you became a judge?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked that. I meant to start with that. I knew there was something I was missing. Okay. I'll just tell you my career history. I have, because in fact, was it Sarah? You were asking me about what degree you thought would be good to go into law. I don't have the degree I would choose anybody to go into. I can't. What do you have, Courtney? What's your
Business.
Business. Okay, I have business. I do too. I have an accounting degree. I graduated from the UK with an accounting degree. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to law school. I was thinking about it, but I wasn't real sure. So I was thinking, well, I'll get an accounting degree. I'll either be a CPA if I don't want to go to law school, or I'll do tax law. That's what I was thinking. Well, I quickly discovered that I can't even balance my checkbook, much less an accountant. Well, and that's not true, but I didn't really like punching numbers. I just didn't like it at all. So after I graduated, I actually went to work on Capitol Hill for a congressman in Washington, D.C., and I stayed there for a while. And I will say that experience, he was a very, 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 very difficult congressman to work for. And while I loved living in D.C., I did not necessarily love working for this man. So I took the bar exam in D.C. actually, and when I got my results and they were good enough, I applied to law school and I came back and went to law school, and then after I graduated, get to that in a minute. After I graduated, my first job out of law school was I clerked for a Kentucky Supreme Court justice, which was wonderful. He was unlike my Capitol Hill boss, this man was a wonderful human being, Supreme Court justice. He was such a mentor to me. I worked for him, and after that I went to various, I was general counsel for several state agencies, and then the prior judge before me, I'd heard he was retiring. I didn't know anything about being a judge, and I didn't even know, I didn't think I knew anything, and I ran and I won, and I've been a judge ever since. So anyway, so it's a 4-year term, so I run every 4 years, and I love it, and so anyway. But as far as degrees, I recommend to Sarah, you might think differently on this. I think you need to know how to write to go to law school. If this is really what you want to do, and you're sure of it, I think an an English degree or a journalism degree. You know, journalism might protect you a little bit more in the sense if you decide you don't want to go to law school, you can get a job. Or English, you could go into teaching, but I think it's important to be able to write. I see too many attorneys that come to court that can't write a simple motion. And you've got to be able to write. So I think that's a great degree. Now my son has a political science degree. That's a very common degree to get to go to law school, but he knew from the day he was in kindergarten he wanted to be a lawyer. And he loves politics, so he got a political science degree. So if you know with 100% certainty you want to go to law school, that's not a bad degree either. And
I've suggested a lot, and so Judge Dutton and I, this is one of my pride and joys, and I think I've gotten her on board with this being her, one of her projects too, but we developed a mental health court in Anderson County. So it was a pilot program. This is a program for people that have severe mental illness. It is very prevalent, and we just have like one more minute, but it's very prevalent that it's one of the main causes of our criminal justice system. So we developed this, but I advise some of the students to go into some type of psychology.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
that's a bad
good to
degree,
know. It's good to know the inner workings of the brain to know why people make the choices that they make. Okay, everyone, please give Judge Dutton our